yesterday, what we will be talking today is more on the role of YouTube in academia. So we had 81 participants yesterday, if I remember correctly, and I'm so happy that 15 of them have been disillusioned, and we have only 65 or 66 participants today, because the rest of them realized that this course is really not helping them at all. And they maybe knew about social media much more than what was being talked out in this course already. So let's talk a little bit more for those of you who decided to stay on YouTube in academia. Well, in this presentation, I will talk about 7 different things, but do not worry, I will not spend too much time on these 7 things, and will speak probably about a minute or 2 on each, and end my presentation in about 10 to 15 minutes. We will talk about the revolution of YouTube. We will try and answer some questions. We will talk about the role of YouTube in medical education. We will talk about a role of YouTube in medical research. We will look at some results from YouTube. We'll look at some results from PubMed, and we will try and see how we can separate wheat from chaff. So yesterday, if you were there with me, I hope that the 66 participants who are here, some of you may not have been with me yesterday. So I tried to tell you a story yesterday, and I am trying to link it to another file and play it on my computer. Let's see if it allows me to, and finally, if I'm able to play that file. And this is about the same conversation that I was speaking to you about. And okay, let's try and run it in another fashion. And this is the file that I was trying to play. Let's see if it's okay. So this is a narration.
बेटे से बात कर रहा था, मुझे कहता है पापा मुझे स्कूल क्यों भेजते हो? मेरे को इतना ऑड लगा, मैंने कहा स्कूल क्यों भेजते हैं मतलब? कहते पापा आप स्कूल क्यों भेजते हो? मैं जितना यूट्यूब से सीखा है ना पिछले 1 साल में, उतना स्कूल वालों ने 10 साल में नहीं सिखाया, और बेटर सिखाया है। मैंने कहा बेटा स्कूलिंग इज नेसेसरी, इंडियन सिस्टम एजुकेशन के अंदर स्कूलिंग ऐसी ही होती है। कहता बट दैट्स नॉट द पॉइंट, आई लर्न मोर फ्रॉम द इंटरनेट यूजिंग द यूट्यूब एंड गूगल rather than what they're teaching in the school. And frankly, I just couldn't say no to him, because somehow I feel that he was right in some way.
So that was a clip that I tried to play of a conversation that I was having with my friend, in which he was trying to tell that his 12-year-old son feels that he has learned more in the last several years from YouTube than he has learned from school. And he realized, and he was speaking and asking why he should be going to school at all. To add to it, story from my own family and my own son. I have a 6-year-old son who believes and who can tell more about the solar system than probably an average class 6 student, because he's watched so much of it from the YouTube and the internet. So this is the kind of revolution that YouTube has brought into our own homes. With this, let's try and look at some questions that I wanted to talk to you about here. Do you think that this topic of the role of YouTube in academia, is it a usual topic, or is it different from the usual topic? So you can write in the chat box and the comments and tell me whether you think that yes, this is an unusual topic, or no, this is not an unusual topic. So just put in yes or no, which will tell me that of the 67, a few of you are still with me and on the talk. So I understand that probably we are not getting as much responsiveness as we had from the group yesterday, or probably there's a lag in the connection. But yes, some people are trying to pour in now, and they believe that yes, it's kind of a topic which is unusual, and Amit Kesri, as usual, says that it's very important, and he thinks he owes my career to it. I'm delighted to read that comment, Amit. And yes, people have made their careers out of YouTube in academia, and that's actually true. The next question that I wanted to ask is probably, am I really qualified to take this talk? And what is my qualification in taking this talk? Um, I'm not, I would say, as successful as a lot of other YouTubers, but my only claim to fame and why Latika asked me to deliver this talk is maybe because I run my own YouTube channel in which I teach medicine and I teach basics of research to anybody who cares to follow or subscribe. And I'm happy to say that I have roughly about 309 subscribers who listen to my YouTube videos, which I post off and on with due diligence. Well, I don't think I'm qualified to take this talk because I'm not at all as successful among the YouTube community. But yes, I do run a YouTube channel in which I do talk to students off and on. Do I believe in this subject? Obviously, I do believe in this subject, and that is the reason that I started my own YouTube channel in which I started teaching medicine and research methodology to students on the YouTube. Where do you think I prepared my lecture today? So let's again open this question to chat, and Abhijit, Ankita, Amit Kesri, or Pranav, if you are listening, just try and tell me, where do you think I would have prepared for my presentation today? If this was such an unusual topic, there had to be some unusual ways to prepare for it. And where do you think I could have found the right material to address all of you on this particular topic? So any guesses, any thoughts on the chat box? Absolutely, you've hit it on the nail. You've hit the nail on its head, Shruti, Pranav. Absolutely right. Yes, it is YouTube. I had to go to YouTube. I had to look up YouTube, and there you see it's full of medical education, medical research on YouTube per se. Another question: how many articles do you think there are on PubMed with the word YouTube appearing in these articles at any point of in their manuscript? How many articles do you think there would be? 100, 200, 5, 10, 1000? Just give a blind number, 1 lakh or 10,000. Amit Kesri says few thousands. Any other guesses? Any other wild guesses? 10,000 plus. Shoshi. And Pranav says 10,000. Well, as of this morning, I found there were 1,724 articles which had the word YouTube appearing in these articles. And how many articles with the word YouTube appearing in the title of the papers? And I found there were 755 articles with YouTube in the title of the paper. So when YouTube appears in the title of the paper, I believe that the article particularly focuses on YouTube, and YouTube particularly trying to look at impact of YouTube on medical education and research. That brings me to my next area or section of presentation for today. Again, I will open this question to the chat, and the question that I want to ask you: do you think that medical schools are, or medical schools should be, the guardians of medical education? And yes, my ardent follower Amit Kesri was the first one to reply, who says no. Roma feels no. Prithvi says they try to be, and Shiosi says they, so practically a large portion of the more responsive audience among us today feels that medical schools are not, or they should not be, the guardians of medical education. Yes, Abhishek, I do agree with you. They should not be for medical research on today. Do you think that medical journals should be or are the guardians of medical research? Well, they have played this role, and so have the medical colleges. They have played this role of being the guardians of medical research and of medical education for several decades or several years or even centuries, I would say, for medical schools. And medical research has been practically led or been spearheaded by medical journals in the fields of publication, while now social media is making some inroads into that space. However, there might be still some of us who feel that yes, to maintain some kind of decorum, some kind of decency, some kind of transparency, some kinds of standard in research and education, medical schools and medical journals should be playing an important role in the medical education and medical research fields. So to take on these two myths or these two beliefs, I would say, here are some results from YouTube. So for those who feel that medical education is the field which is to be led or is led by medical schools, medical education lead medical schools, here is a snapshot of Khan Academy, one of the top 10 leading channels on medical education, and with 1.3 million subscribers to Khan Academy. On the top panel, you can see another channel, a screenshot of another channel, that's Osmosis, and we have Dr. Najib's lectures. So all these three sites have got more than 1.2, 1.6, 1.8 million subscribers who follow religiously what Khan Academy, Osmosis, or Dr. Najib's lectures hands out to them, which definitely is a much more subscriber base than any medical college can boast of. Here on the lower end panel are the YouTube channels from JAMA Network. Now, JAMA is a Journal of American Medical Association, and the NEJM, the New England Journal of Medicine. Both these journals have got their own YouTube channels. Even if we believe, or even for those of us who believe that the medical journals are the harbingers or they are the spearhead in leadership positions in medical research, well, these journals have been forced. No one wants to change unless they are forced to change. So both these journals, which are the top leading medical journals, have been forced to start their own YouTube channels and acquire or promote their user base. It's because that's the impact and that's the power of YouTube in our academia and in research. And coming back to medical education, here are two screenshots from the channels which are run by the Harvard Medical School and the Johns Hopkins Medical School. There are similar channels run by the Stanford and the Berkeley, and you name the medical school and they have a YouTube channel. Why do they have a YouTube channel? They have it just because they want to have their user base. They want to expand. That's the power that YouTube wields. So I think the connection has now been restored, and probably you would be able
Yes.
to hear me. Yes. So I believe you're able to hear and see the screen now. So where I was talking about some results from PubMed, and I tried to see if there were any systematic reviews or meta-analysis that were available, which we could talk about, and which had YouTube appearing in the title of their paper or in the title of the article. And I found there are at least 11 different systematic reviews and meta-analysis which have been done solely on YouTube. People have made the YouTube content as a career model, and they are publishing right on whatever is available on YouTube by studying what is available on YouTube. Things like sources of information on Candida infection, oral care in patients with Parkinson's disease, information for laryngeal cancer, blood sampling in newborns, femoroacetabular impingement, OBGY examination, pain management in cancer, pain management in immunization, and things like consumer health have been reviewed and studied from YouTube, and people have published articles on these. Finally, in the last portion of my talk, I'm going to talk about separating wheat from chaff. it's a usual fear or a usual concern that people have. And how do we find out whether the video which is available on YouTube, is it relevant, or is it real, or is it authentic, is it genuine, is it reliable, is it valid? So trying to answer that question, here is what the results from PubMed do tell us about how we can try and identify the right material from YouTube without getting confused in the maze of the information which is available there. So there are some standards of reliability, and because users must discern what information is available. And one such literature review that I found was by Drost et al., in which they talk about medical YouTube videos and methods of evaluation of these. They were able to identify 37 different studies for this systematic review, which had studied YouTube videos in which authors had observed, studied, evaluated YouTube videos. And based on these 37 studies evaluating YouTube videos, they identified what were the most common sequence of methods which were performed. The first was to determine a search term, just like we always identify keywords, establish an inclusion criteria, then determine whether the video reliability. So they found or developed a score which will answer the reliability question. Then they reviewed the individual videos, and then in a meeting which was convened between different authors, they would discuss the discrepancies and determine the final inclusion, whether the study is to be included for the systematic review or not, or whether the study is to be included, or whether the video is to be included into the study or not. Then they analyze results and determine the reliability or usefulness of a video. So these are the general approach that we follow for any systematic review. But in this systematic review, they have just narrated that to identify a reliable and a valid video on YouTube, they identified these 6 steps for identifying the right video, which was to determine a search term, establish an inclusion criteria, determine a score which could be run on every video, review individual videos, and then discuss the discrepancies and come to a consensus, and finally analyze the usefulness of the video. Now, the criteria that have been used by different studies, individual 37 studies in this, what they found were things like number of views, what is the duration of the video, how many likes or dislikes per view it has received, the date of upload, the comments which have been placed, what are the views per day, what are the viewer rating, what is the search rank, what rank does the video come up on search, how many channel subscriptions are there, and how many number of shares are there. But these are, again, common sense, no rocket science in this. Whenever we look at YouTube videos, those are practically things that we look at and we identify. But very surprisingly, I also found 4 more criteria which were more disturbing and more difficult to digest. The criteria that had been used by these 37 studies included the gender of the presenter, the country of origin of the presenter, the age of the presenter, and also the race of the presenter. So it is surprising that even in 2021, gender and race are being used to determine whether a video is valid, reliable, accurate, authentic, and is to be viewed. Another interesting paper by Carlson et al. I found, and with this I will conclude, is that a domain-based approach for retrieving trustworthy health videos on YouTube in 2013, they published it, and they developed an artificial intelligence-based system which identifies videos which are coming from trusted sources or channels, and then it re-ranks the YouTube results so that those which are more reliable identified by this system will be coming up first in the search criteria, and then it uses the channel metadata to display them. So this is practically what I have for you in this presentation today. But other criteria that people have developed and have used for identifying the right kind of videos are the authenticity of who is presenting and what is the source of this video. So generally, the medical schools and any teacher with more and better credentials tends to get better viewership and better reliability. So that is all that I would like to present to you today as far as this session is concerned, and I'm happy and glad to take on questions if there are any.